This video contains scenes depicting violations of TOSHA regulations. These scenes are marked by the hazard alert notification on the screen. The scenes were not staged, but were filmed on actual work sites in Tennessee on a day selected at random. The video was developed to inform you about TOSHA's special emphasis programs and was not intended to be an instructional video on compliance issues regarding the topics covered. Before we start, I'd like to speak with you about the 4 areas of Tennessee OSHA's Special Emphasis Program, which are covered in this video: fall protection, noise, carbon monoxide, and trenching and excavating. During all health and safety inspections, TOSHA compliance officers or consultants will be paying special attention to these 4 areas. Falls are a leading cause of fatal injuries, and they occur in all types of employment. TOSHA will be looking to see if employees are using fall protection as they do their work, and if work platforms are guarded. Also during inspections, we will take sound level readings and check carbon monoxide levels. All TOSHA compliance and consultative services personnel are instructed to be on the lookout for trenching or excavating work sites, even as they drive to and from work. TOSHA will also utilize reports of imminent danger, fatality catastrophe reports, safety and health agency referrals, employee complaints, and media reports to locate trenching and excavating work. Safety and health hazards can lead to injuries, illnesses, and fatalities. Unfortunately, nearly 150 workers die on the job in Tennessee each year. Many more suffer permanent impairment. Still others are exposed to chemical and biological hazards which may shorten their lives later on. In too many cases, these tragedies are avoidable. Take the time to do your job right and do it safely. TOSHA is committed to helping employees and employers identify safety hazards and select the necessary protection to control or eliminate hazards. The Special Emphasis programs will help Tennesseans work safely. Excessive noise can destroy the ability to hear. It may also put stress on other parts of the body, including the heart. Workers exposed to noise sometimes complain of nervousness, sleeplessness, and fatigue. For most effects of noise, there is no cure, so prevention of excessive noise exposure and hearing conservation are very important. The damage done by noise depends mainly on how loud it is and on the length of exposure. The frequency or pitch can also have some effect, since high-pitched sounds are more damaging than low-pitched ones. Noise may tire out the inner ear, causing temporary hearing loss. After a period of time off, hearing may be restored. With continued noise exposure, however, the ear will lose its ability to recover from temporary hearing loss, and the damage will be permanent. Permanent hearing loss results from the destruction of hair cells in the inner ear, which can never be replaced or repaired. Normally, workplace noise first affects the ability to hear high-pitched sounds. This means that even though a person can still hear some noise, speech or other sounds may be unclear or distorted. Distortion occurs especially when there are background noises or many people talking. A hearing aid can make speech louder, but not clearer. How is it then that workers lose their hearing even when you can walk into their work area and know that the machines are loud? Unfortunately, people often think noise is no threat to them. You can't see or smell sound. There is no pain associated with noise in the 85 to 100 decibel range. Initial injuries to a worker's hearing are not evident because noise-induced hearing loss is hard to detect. Serious damage may take years to occur, and it may take 10 to 20 years to become evident. People may think hearing protection is too much trouble, and sometimes when audiograms are reviewed, appropriate action is not always taken. Employers may fail to explain the importance of using hearing protection. There is also a false belief that medical science can correct noise-induced hearing loss. It cannot. And people believe hearing loss is normal. You need to monitor noise exposures in your facility to determine who is exposed above an 8-hour time-weighted average of 85 decibels. To do this, you can buy or rent a sound level meter, a dosimeter, or arrange for your insurance carrier or a consultant to conduct a survey for you. TOSHA laws for occupational noise exposure require you to implement and maintain a hearing conservation program at no cost to the employees when noise exposures exceed an 8-hour time-weighted average of 85 decibels. For an acceptable program, you must conduct mandatory annual hearing tests, make hearing protectors available, make hearing protectors mandatory above 90 dBA, conduct annual training on the effects of noise, keep accurate records of audiograms and review them to ensure that your program is effective. Hearing loss can be permanent. Think of all the wonderful sounds you would miss if you lost your hearing. One of the most common industrial hazards is carbon monoxide, a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas. It is also toxic. Mild poisoning can cause nausea, dizziness, or headaches, while severe poisoning can result in brain or heart damage or even death. Carbon monoxide is produced by the incomplete burning of any material containing carbon, such as gasoline, natural gas, oil, kerosene, propane, charcoal, or wood. A common source of exposure in the workplace is the internal combustion engine. Small gasoline-powered engines and tools and gasoline or propane-powered forklifts produce carbon monoxide, as do forges, blast furnaces, and coke ovens. And TOSHA has issued a special alert regarding supplied air from air compressors, which is also a potential carbon monoxide hazard. Here are some suggestions for employers. Install an effective ventilation system to remove carbon monoxide. Maintain appliances and equipment in good order. Consider switching from fossil fuel-powered to battery-powered equipment. Ensure that breathing air supplied from compressors is grade D. Install carbon monoxide monitors or regularly test the air in areas where carbon monoxide is generated. Instruct workers in the hazards, signs, and symptoms of carbon monoxide exposure. TOSHA laws for carbon monoxide exposure require that employers ensure that exposures are kept below 35 parts per million, or ppm, for an 8-hour time-weighted average in general industry. Ensure that exposures are kept below 50 ppm for an 8-hour time-weighted average in construction. If there is a potential for exposure to carbon monoxide in your workplace, then include carbon monoxide in your Hazard Communication Program inventory list of chemicals. Have a material safety data sheet for carbon monoxide and include information on carbon monoxide in your Hazard Communication Program. Post a carbon monoxide warning sign in areas where there is a potential for carbon monoxide exposure, for example, where you use forklifts, and include it in your annual Right to Know training. Carbon monoxide can kill you. Follow the rules, not just to comply, but to be safe and alive. Trenching and excavation work creates extremely dangerous hazards to workers. Compliance with TOSHA construction standards applicable to such operations is sometimes bypassed because of economic pressures, time constraints, belief that compliance is unnecessary, or an expectation that these short-term operations will go undetected. Excavation workers are exposed to many hazards, but the chief hazard is the danger of cave-ins. In addition to cave-in hazards, workers must be protected from exposure to falls, falling loads, and mobile equipment. Here is a brief summary of the requirements. Where a trench to be occupied by a worker is 5 feet deep or greater, The sides of the trench must be protected from cave-ins by one of the following: A, sloping at the appropriate angle for the soil type; B, shoring, normally with metal and hydraulic approved equipment; or C, inserting a trench box in the trench. Excavated dirt must not be within 2 feet of the trench. Water in the bottom of the trench makes it unstable ground, so employees shall not occupy the trench unless water is being pumped out. Employees in the trench must wear hard hats, and a ladder must be within 25 feet for a safe exit from the trench. And a competent person must be present. This person must: A, know the trenching standard requirements, including soil types A, B, and C, and B, have the authority to stop and/or make necessary changes in the operation to make it safe. Before you ever begin your work, establish a safety and health program to include systematic policies, procedures, and practices to protect employees from and allow them to recognize job-related safety and health hazards. Develop safety checklists and take into account traffic, nearness of structures and their conditions, soil, surface and groundwater, the water table, overhead and underground utilities, and weather. Determine the estimated location of utility installations, sewer, telephone, fuel, electric, water lines, etc., and call Tennessee One Call System at 1-800-351-1111 at least 3 but not more than 10 working days before digging begins. Obtain and read the TOSHA standards on trenching and excavating, 29 CFR 1926, Subpart P. Obtain cooperation from supervisors, employee groups such as unions, and individual employees. Provide employees who are exposed to public vehicular traffic with warning vests or other suitable garments marked with or made of reflective or highly visible material. Train employees who will operate equipment on how to be fully alert to hazards. Time is money. We all know that. But taking shortcuts can lead to disaster. Take the time to do it right on the front end and protect your workers and yourself. Each year in the United States, falls account for more than 200 fatalities and over 100,000 injuries. These occur in all areas of employment and almost all occupations. In Tennessee, falls have been the leading cause of work-related death for the past several years. This table shows the statistics for 1997 through 1999. Falls are not only potentially deadly, they are very costly as well. The cost of an average fall injury is over $40,000. If the employee has to miss a month of work, that figure jumps to more than $50,000. And in the tragic case of a fatality, the cost on average is close to $500,000. Most fall victims are 20 to 39 years of age and were not wearing fall protection. Most falls result from slippery surfaces, trips, or a loss of balance. Half of all falls are from ladders and scaffolds, and the majority of these accidents are from a distance of 10 feet or less. Falls are most likely to occur on Monday mornings, and while length of service was not a factor in most falls, training was. In general industry, workers must be protected when the fall hazard is greater than 4 feet. Industrial fall hazards are often less obvious than those on construction sites. In industrial workplaces, fall hazards exist where there are storage areas above offices, on mezzanines or catwalks, where there are floor holes and manholes, scaffolds, certain types of material handling equipment, elevated work platforms, and even when employees climb onto equipment to perform a repair or make an adjustment. Fall hazards are present during almost all phases of construction. Workers in construction must be protected when the fall hazard is greater than 6 feet. These hazards exist during excavation, steel erection, concrete forming and pouring, working from scaffolding, and roofing. The majority of fatalities on construction projects are from falls. Falls are also a significant source of serious injury. Almost all trades are exposed to fall hazards at some point during the performance of their work, and the fall hazard must be identified and protection provided. Fall protection can be provided with the use of guardrail systems, personal fall arrest equipment, controlled access areas, nets, and employee awareness training. In both construction and general industry, fall prevention is the key, because once you start to fall, it's too late. Since this video was shot, TOSHA has added another area of special emphasis. This is on amputation hazards. The operations of saws, slicers, and power presses can be extremely dangerous. Machine safeguarding is the primary way to control amputation hazards, and inadequate guarding of such machinery can result in permanent disability or even death for exposed employees. Under the Special Emphasis Program on amputations, TOSHA will be taking a close look at all power presses, saws, shears, and slicers. The Special Emphasis Programs will help Tennesseans work safely. For information about these topics or any other issue relating to occupational safety and health, call Tennessee OSHA at one of the numbers on the screen. Our consultative services section is available to assist with compliance on site at no charge. They can help you ensure that you have a safe and healthy workplace. The TOSHA training section offers seminars and workshops where you can learn about the requirements of our regulations and how to comply. Injuries and illnesses on the job can be prevented. Join with Tennessee OSHA and let's make sure all Tennessee workers go home at the end of every workday safe and healthy.